Hey, KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra here at KUsports.com with Benton Smith in his standard Zoom arena.
You know the drill.
I am Matt Tate in my Indianapolis hotel room, and March just continues to be mundane around here. You know, we're in the same old spots. KU continues to win, yada, 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 right? No, not at all. Nothing about this March has been mundane or the same, but Kansas did win today, 93-84 over a very tough out in Eastern Washington, the 14th seeded Eagles. I don't think there's anybody that was paying attention that thought this game was going to be easy or was surprised that it was a challenge or a dogfight like it was. But was there anything about it, Benton, that surprised you in the way that it played out?
Not really, honestly. I thought Groves, the elder Groves brother, Tanner, the big guy, the burly guy, I thought he was going to have a huge day. Maybe that's the surprising part, that he scored 35. That's a big number.
It is a big number.
35 points on 11 of 18 shooting, 5 for 11 from three-point range. That guy was great. And KU didn't have a way to stop him. Because, even when McCormack came in, that's when Tanner Groves went outside and just popped trays, right? And
sure.
But it turned out fine because David McCormack did everything else that you would want from him, so it negated and more than offset that. But yeah, kudos to the big guy for coming through with the performance. And the Groves brothers, I think, had a nice little spot in the spotlight today.
No doubt.
We're a fun little story. And then for KU fans, I'm sure they're excited that story is over.
Yeah, no question about it. I agree. I thought that, when McCormack wasn't in the game, it was very obvious that Groves got whatever he wanted. It didn't matter if they put Christian Brown or put Ochai or Bryce Thompson or whoever was down there, Garrett. He was just too big and too strong, and it wasn't pretty, but he would get whatever he wanted and easy shots at the rim. I thought when McCormack did come in and offered a little bit of resistance, a little body to lean on him, there were a couple of times he tried to go down there, and it really affected him. Even though Dave's not the best defensive big man and he didn't block shots or anything like that, he just made it harder. They weren't, the shots weren't point blank right at the rim. So you're right. That's when he tried to take Dave outside, and that worked for him. But I thought that was huge that McCormack was able to even provide that kind of resistance, because otherwise it would have been, he would have gone for 50, really. He was getting that much at the rim, anything he wanted. And so you take your chances at that point, and credit to Dave for being able to play. Obviously, that was the most remarkable part about this game. It's not that Kansas won. It's not that they had 5 guys in double figures. We've seen those things before. We have not seen a guy one day clear from COVID-19 come out and play 25 minutes and give literally everything he had. The guy was gassed afterwards. He was gassed at halftime. He was gassed when he came out to take a break. David McCormack was a monster today, and I thought it took him a little while to get his feet, but once he did, he was the same dude. It didn't look exactly the same. I thought the fatigue and stuff really affected his lift, but as far as the mentality and the way he played the game, he called for the ball. He tried to make his post moves. He tried to be physical. He was so aggressive in that regard, and it saved Kansas. There were other guys that saved Kansas too. They had to have a really good team performance today, and they got it. But there's no doubt that they don't win that game with Dave McCormack, not in the lineup. He played 25 minutes, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 5 offensive, a couple of steals, the one dive and save of the steal right in front of the Kansas bench that was early, but it also helped set the tone for not only the game and what Kansas needed to do, but what he was able to do. He showed, hey, COVID or no COVID, I'm back, and I'm going to give everything I've got, and he did. He was spectacular. Talk about taking the respect for a guy from, here to here. Kansas fans, I saw it all over Twitter. They're done complaining about him, at least until the next game. That's what they said about Marcus Garrett, who knocked in 3 3-pointers today and had his outside shot working. They've been trashing him his entire career. And I saw a bunch of people on Twitter saying, well, I'm done with that too. Marcus Garrett, I love you. And then they'll play Monday, and we'll see what happens. But I just thought McCormack was sensational. He's got my respect. He already did, but it's a whole new level now. It's unbelievable. The guy was so freaking tough.
Yeah, because coming into today, I mean, no one really knew what KU was going to
No
get
one.
out of McCormack. And I mean, I think people were probably thinking best case scenario out of 15 minutes, something
Right.
like that.
Right.
I mean, but he blew right through that. And, good for him. I mean, he that effort was there, even when, like you said, sometimes his legs weren't quite under him. And I mean, there were a couple of shots where you could see he's not getting that same lift. But I mean, the effort was there like it would always be. So
Well, and
I don't know how he pulled it off, but I mean that was impressive, especially having not practiced in like 10 or 11 days or whatever.
yeah, and he was poised. I really thought one of the dangers for this game was the fact that we've seen him at 100% healthy and feeling good, want it so bad, want to do well so bad that he plays sped up and he gets out of control, and he's his own worst enemy in those regards. But his poise today, and maybe he had to be poised because maybe he was just that winded and that tired. But gosh, he was patient. His poise was terrific. He knew exactly when to turn the switch and when to kind of hang back and wait for his time. I thought that was as big a part of the story as anything. I mean, he did not play like a guy frantically trying to make up for being out. He played like a guy who knew what he needed to do and was willing to do it. So you wrote about DeJuan Harris, though. I mean, that's another guy that was sensational. They don't win the game without him. 35 minutes off the bench. I mean, Dave played 25 off the bench. It's a lot. He checked in at the 18-minute mark, so he didn't sit for long. But DeJuan Harris checked in right there with him. They needed it. He delivered. Everybody knows that he can get after you defensively, but today he was really good offensively too. And again, they had to have it. I mean, what'd you write about and what'd you think about his game?
Well, I mean, just the fact that KU is so obviously better when he's on the floor.
Right.
I mean,
right.
just everything clicks when he's in there. The offense looks better, the defense looks better, and I mean, he deserves so much credit for just welcoming those 3-point shots that Eastern Washington was inviting him to take. They're like, all right, here you go. Take a 3. Let's see if you can make them. And he went 3 for 4. And I mean, it wasn't like it did not get in his head at all. I mean, what he came into this game having taken 9 3-pointers on the season, and 3 for 4 when you're not known as a shooter and you're a redshirt freshman playing in your first NCAA tournament game. I mean, that is so impressive. And I mean, that's not even mentioning what he gives KU defensively, energy-wise, passing, just kind of like helping set the tone. I mean, he played like a senior. He played like on the level that Marcus Garrett did, and those 2 guys making 3-pointers was so crucial for KU pulling this one out. So those, I mean, we've talked a lot about what Dave did, and rightfully so, but obviously Harris and Garrett were both just. I mean, KU had to have everything that they got from them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking about that. I might even mention it to someone I was sitting next to during the game. I mean, imagine being Eastern Washington. You spend a week preparing for this game. You're a coach who has plenty of experience, knows what he's doing, good coach, got his team to this point. And you tell your players over and over and over, we want him to shoot. Let him shoot. Leave him open. That's fine. That's what we want. And then he knocks you for 3 for 4. And really changes the game. Each one of those was at a crucial time and such a big shot. I mean, that's March, that's basketball, that's crazy. And that had to just be a gut punch for those guys on the bench because, I mean, they play this game 10 times. He probably doesn't go 3 of 4. Half the times he may go 0 of 4 in that situation, So you just caught it on the wrong day. And you're right, Garrett and him from the outside were terrific. Those 2, though, defensively, I mean, you could see it when DeJuan checked in, and we've seen it all year, but you could see it when he checked in that it flipped the script completely. I mean, KU was sleepwalking for the first 2 minutes of that game, and Eastern Washington was ready to play, and it's 9-0, and KU had to have something quick. Otherwise, you're looking at a 14, 15-point hole early on, and DeJuan Harris comes in, and, yeah, he hit a 3 early, but he also just changed the tone of what KU does defensively. And I think that's it, man. These guys are so good when they play to their potential defensively that, are they going to beat Gonzaga? Are they going to beat Iowa? Are they going to even beat USC in the next round? Who knows? We don't know. I mean, it'd be a hell of a run if they do. But the idea that Marcus Garrett and DeJuan Harris make them as good as any team in the country on the perimeter defensively. I mean, there's not a team out there that wants to see those two guys bothering their ball handlers and their guards, for 40 minutes. So it makes it interesting for sure. Hey, I thought Ochai Agbaji had 21 points, and it really kind of came out of nowhere because he didn't start great, and he was kind of quiet. But he hit a couple of threes at timely moments that kept KU, within range. So maybe you didn't really notice because they weren't parts of big runs or real explosive, but they were so clutch. And then he got a couple of lobs and got a couple of steals that led to baskets and things like that. But he was
scoring on every baseline out of bounds play. Just KU should just find a way to get in a baseline out of bounds situation because they were going to get a bucket from Ochai.
That's right. Drive to the baseline and throw it off the guy's legs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Have Mitch Lightfoot jump into a table, throwing the ball off somebody. So you can have
yeah, I mean, even Christian Brown, right? Like we talked about, they had 5 guys in double figures. Christian Brown gets to 12 points. He shoots 2 of 11. You don't think that's a good day? He had a great day. He played 39 minutes. He hit 6 free throws. The 2 shots he made were clutch 3-pointers. I mean, again, it was just a team win. And you don't want to celebrate this one too hard because it's a 3-14 matchup and it's a first-round game, and that's what you expect at Kansas, and that's what they're supposed to do. But I do think this is a team, especially on this day, that would have beat a lot of teams. I think Eastern Washington, the way they played, when they caught fire in the first half and totally took control of that game late in the half, that was nasty. I mean, the younger Groves was throwing in shots he couldn't miss. I mean, he hand up, it didn't matter. I mean, it was an impressive run by them, and I'm sure they're stewing a little bit right now because they probably feel the same way. I'm sure they think they would have beat a lot of teams, and it's tough for sure. But what else stood out? Anything else? I mean, we've covered almost every individual player by now. We didn't talk about Tyon Grant-Foster. You're welcome to. We don't need to. Bryce Thompson hit a big 3, 1 of 6 on the day, but the one he hit was at a pretty crucial time in the second half when they were trying to make their little run to get back in front. So, I mean –
KU controlled the second half.
Yeah.
Sure. And that's because they kind of knew who they had to have out there at that point. And,
right.
And they were able to play McCormack more than they were expecting. One thing that I wanted to bring up, which is a little bit more about DeJuan Harris, is Marcus Garrett mentioned the plus minus, right? When he was talking to us after the game on his post-game press conference, said, DeJuan had the plus 22. And just to give you an even better, because plus 22 is obviously great, but the on-off numbers, when Harris was on the court, KU outscored them 91-69.
Wow.
91-69.
So what happens when you play 35 minutes?
Maker. Yeah, exactly. But
91.
Yeah.
So in the other 5
scored
minutes, they
2
scored
points
2 points
when he wasn't in there.
Wow. Yeah, that's remarkable. I think we've seen all year and heard all year from this team what that guy's capable of. Their confidence in him is enormous. The coaches love him. His teammates, a lot of them have known him for a long time, so they're comfortable with him. But I think for the first time here in the last 2-3 weeks, you're starting to see his confidence in himself. And that, to me, is the biggest difference. It's one thing for your teammates to believe in you, but if you're still tentative or you're still, not 100% sure of who you are or what you should be doing or whatever, it doesn't allow it to come through. He's not questioning it anymore. He knows that he's a huge part of this team. He knows that they score 91 freaking points when he's on the floor. That's in an NCAA tournament game, no less. I mean, that's massive. So I think that seeing his confidence sort of blossom has been really cool to watch. And obviously the impact on this team is enormous. We'll see what happens in the next round or 2 or 3 or however long they're able to stick around here. But they're playing as well as anyone. That was a tough team they beat today, and in a tough situation that a lot of other Kansas teams have kind of folded in. They didn't, and they got a good win over a tough Oklahoma team just the other day. I mean, it's been a while now, but they're just stacking good outings after good outings after good outings. And I think the best part for them is that they didn't play well in the first half at all. and they still found a way. So there's still plenty of room to grow and improve. And obviously on Monday night, they'll get a chance, or Monday sometime, they'll get a chance to take on USC, the 6th seed that knocked off Drake. We'll get into USC a little bit more tomorrow. So be sure to check out KUsports.com for coverage, analysis, maybe another one of these. Benton's got a Trojan Warrior hat I think he's going to wear. Maybe not, but
I don't own one, so I better.
Okay. Well, then you got time to get one. You got time. But what do you know about them? I mean, we've written a little bit about it, and kind of I didn't get to see much of their game today, but they look physical, they look athletic, they look tough. They're obviously a good team. They won the Pac-12 regular season. They're going to be a tough matchup for sure.
Yeah, I mean their front court is so long and so athletic. We talked about this earlier in the
Sunday.
week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That reminded me of Texas, just because they have athletes with just crazy length. And I mean, like, they're not imposing guys. They're just like, I mean, they're more like all limbs than just like beefed up type of guys. But I mean, Evan Mobley is going to be a lottery pick, and that's their best player, and he can play inside and outside. But the most important thing is he really affects shots in the paint. I mean, like, KU is not going to have an easy time getting buckets in the paint against this USC team, because Evan Mobley, who's the younger of the Mobley brothers, he's 7 foot. Isaiah Mobley, 6'10". But they also, I mean, they've got 6'8" guys on the wing. When I was watching them in the second half beat Drake earlier today, that's one of the things that really kind of pops on the screen, is just how much length they have defensively in that half court, and they're quick and they move their feet well. And so, I mean, no matter where you're trying to go, you're going to run into somebody, or they're going to funnel you into the lane where there's arms all over the place waiting to just deflect your shot, or contest you, or bother you, or block it. So I think it's going to be a tough matchup for KU, just because, I mean, they're going to have to hit from outside. It seems like the 3-point line will play a big part in what transpires on Monday.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I mean, I think one of the things that stood out to me when I was watching that USC Drake game was the score was right where Kansas wants it. I don't remember the final, but it was like 76-67 or something like that, 64 maybe. I mean, my point is, KU, they can't go out and hope to score 80, 90 points against USC and win a game, because USC is just not going to give them that many. I mean, I guess if they made 17 or 18 three-pointers, that might happen, but they're not in for that type of game, which fits Kansas, right? They don't, I mean, until today, they've been wanting to play games in the 60s. I'm sure they wanted to play today's game in the 60s. It didn't happen. But I think the idea is, like, let's get back to what we do. I mean, Self said that was the message at halftime. Marcus Garrett said the same thing. Let's do what we do. And what they do is they make it hard on other teams. And so this could be a low-scoring battle. I mean, it could be, 50s could look high-scoring in this one, because neither team's going to necessarily get much. I mean, USC's not going to give up much at the rim, as you mentioned. And I don't think Kansas is going to allow the USC guards to initiate offense anywhere near where they want to get those guys easy buckets themselves. So, I mean, we'll see. It obviously could come down to a horse contest. I mean, it could just be a shooting matchup, and whichever team, gets to E first loses. But I do think it'll be fun. I do think it's exciting that, it comes on a one-day turnaround, because that kind of neutralizes a couple of things, and it's just about which team's better. And, that's the one thing about Eastern Washington and really even Kansas. I mean, those teams had so long to prepare for each other this week, especially starting on Saturday. Normally that's a Thursday or Friday game.
Yeah.
But, so they had a long time. KU, USC, they do not have that luxury. And they just got to show up, and whichever team plays better that night wins and moves on to the Sweet 16. So it'll be a lot of fun, but we'll have a lot more fun diving into it tomorrow. USC's up to number 9 in the KenPom rankings. They're 6th seed, and they're up to number 9, ahead of Kansas, well ahead of Kansas in the KenPom rankings. And
do better, selection committee. Do better with your seeding.
Right, yeah. Ohio State at 2. Come on.
Everybody knew that they were going to lose that game. Everybody. No.
Everybody. Benton, any final thoughts? I mean, this is look, I think that when you consider the fact that this is a COVID year, when you consider the fact that this was a Kansas team that took some time to figure itself out and find out its identity, when you consider the fact that a team like VCU just got sent home tonight because of COVID, any win in this tournament that keeps your season alive is worth celebrating and has to feel good, and certainly nothing to be ashamed of or disappointed about. I mean, at this point, it's cliche, but it's survive and advance times a million this year, because you've got more than just an opponent that's trying to take you out. It's just trying to get to this point was a grind, and then trying to stay here is a grind. And I mean, it's remarkable. So they should feel great about themselves. They should be loose the rest of the way. Like, if they lose on Monday, nobody's going to be ashamed. I'm sure Kansas fans will be disappointed, but it's not like they'll be losing to a 14 seed in the first round. They won't have to explain themselves. And USC's in the same boat. They're the lower seed. If they lose to Kansas, are they going to be devastated? Is their fan base going to be calling for Andy Enfield's head? No. I mean, it's the round of 32, but we've already reached that point where now it's just house money. Play loose, play free, have some fun, and see who plays better on that particular day. So I can't wait. I'm excited to see what happens Monday. We don't know when or where it'll be yet. It sounds like it won't be at that same venue, but that venue was cool. I got to be honest. It was a fun environment. There were only 961 people in there. It felt every bit of that. It was weird. But at times it got loud and in a relative sense. And it was just different. It was cool to see it in a setting like that, where it's pretty intimate and it's a cool gym. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're up here checking it out for sure, because this is definitely something that will be talked about and remembered forever. So it's weird to think they could play in 6,500 seat Farmers Coliseum one night, and then on Monday, 2 days later, they could play at Lucas Oil Field, home of the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, like, it's just that type of year, that type of tournament. But this place has been awesome. Indy is amazing right now. The way they've hosted this thing is phenomenal. I love the idea of doing this permanently. They won't. They can't, because, I've heard people talk about Kansas City, right? But do this in Kansas. You just can't. You can't.
No, there's not enough venues, first of all.
Right. I mean, you can't put – I don't even know how many Hy-Vee Arena, Old Kemper holds, but this works because you're limiting capacity. This works because of the numbers advantage that you have, but it doesn't work, unfortunately, when the demand for tickets is way through the roof and you want to put 20,000 people in every game. So enjoy it while it's here. It's cool to be a part of. It's cool to check it out firsthand and see what it looks like, because, yeah, this is something we'll remember for a long, long time. The COVID tourney. But KU's 1-0. Any final thoughts, Benton?
Well, speaking of the COVID tourney, I'm just intrigued to see how KU handles Jalen Wilson's return, because he's supposed to get to Indy on Monday, and that's also the day that KU plays. So, I mean, it sounds like they hope to just have him go through a walkthrough, and obviously you can still communicate with him in the tonight and tomorrow leading up to Monday, and kind of make sure he's locked in with the game plan and stuff. But I mean, the guy's been away from the team. That could go either way. He could be, it could be flawless like it was with McCormack coming back, or there could be issues. Not every person handles COVID the same way as well. So we don't know if, is he going to be able to play as many minutes? So it's just such a wild card to be dealing with for a game like this.
It really is. And I mean, I think that, my perspective would be, he's got nothing to lose. Here we're talking about the team playing with house money and playing free. Well, same with him. I mean, there's no pressure. If anything, just getting him back, just the mental part of this team adding a starter who's been pretty good all year. I mean, that in itself could be a lift before he even steps on the floor, before they even see how he plays. It could just be like, wow, we got our squad back, right? Like, here we go. And so that can't be underestimated, just the mental lift that they get from that. But, yeah, he's got to play well too. I mean, they can't put him out there for 30 minutes if he's 1 for 10 and turns it over 7 times. I mean, that's not going to work, So it will be interesting to see how it goes, how he performs. And I would imagine he's encouraged and took some strange confidence from watching Dave do what he did today. He had to learn something from seeing that. And they play different positions. They're different players, but there's no doubt that he had to go, okay, well, work for my guy. So I guess I can come back on Monday and do the same thing. And maybe he goes nutso and makes 6 of 7 from 3-point range and, is that dude again. So good point. I'm glad you brought that up. It'll be really interesting. I'll try to find out what the story is with that when he gets here. A lot of it, as Self said earlier in the week, is going to depend on what time's the game, because if they tip off at noon again, that could be hard. I mean, he has to take a 7 a.m. flight to get up here and, get up here at 8, team meal. And I don't know. I mean, the good news is it should be sort of like a charter situation, and it's a short flight from Lawrence, and he doesn't have to connect in Atlanta like I did. He's not a civilian. He's not a scrub like me. So that helps. I mean, it is a short flight. They can kind of set their schedule and get him up here as soon as they need to. But it's all wide open, up in the air. And my last thought, man, is just I thought it was really cool to see Marcus Garrett step up. He's a senior. He's the heartbeat of that team. This is the guy that means – it means so much to him, and he means so much to the program and to Self, and their relationship's so cool. It was awesome to see him play so well and deliver and help his team get through. So very, very cool stuff. A very good win. Kansas should feel really good about it. 93-84, 93 freaking points by a team that wants to play in the 60s. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So we'll have all the news about when they play, where they play on Monday on the site as soon as it's available. But we do know they're playing USC, and we do know it is going to be a battle. The Pac-12 opened the tournament 4-0. I think KU made the Big 12 5-0. So
Oklahoma currently playing Missouri to see if the Big 12 can go undefeated in the first round.
And then did Texas win?
Well, I guess I'm assuming Texas will win, but I haven't seen that score.
All right. Well, you guys will know by the time some of you watch this. So you can either laugh at Benton or laugh at me or whatever. Just enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the weekend, and check out KUsports.com throughout the remainder of the tournament. As long as KU's in it, we'll have all kinds of coverage. And that's all we've got. So a big win for Kansas, especially considering the circumstances. And they're moving on. They'll play Monday against number 6 seed USC somewhere in Indianapolis. I'll see you guys there. Thanks for checking out KU Sports Extra.